The sound of distant gunfire echoed through the wind as Sergeant Adam Blake pressed his back to a crumbling stone wall. His breath was steady, his rifle clutched tight. In a war-torn village far from home, he was a picture of calm amidst chaos. But what he didn't expect was the soft, trembling meow that broke through the battlefield silence. He turned. There, peeking from behind a shattered crate, was a tiny gray and white kitten, her wide blue eyes locked onto his. She was shaking, drenched from the morning rain, barely more than a puff of fur and bones. For a moment, the world stopped. No bullets, no shouting. Just her. Adam blinked. "What the hell are you doing here, little one?" he whispered, almost to himself. He lowered his rifle slowly, crouching to her level. She didn't run. Instead, she wobbled forward, meowing again, this time more urgently. He reached into his vest, pulled out a protein bar, and tore it open. It wasn't cat food, but it was something. She sniffed, then devoured a chunk of it without hesitation. "Guess we're both running on scraps now, huh?" he murmured. Radio chatter crackled in his earpiece. "Blake, move out. North Alley in 2. He sighed, glanced at the kitten. He should leave her. This was no place for something so fragile. But when he stood, she followed. Her tiny paws splashed through muddy puddles, keeping pace undeterred. "Are you serious?" he muttered, half amused. "You're going to get yourself killed out here." But she kept following. The next alley was worse. Shells had hit the block hard. Rubble was everywhere. Adam darted from one wall to the next, checking corners, rifle up, heart pounding. And every time he paused, she paused too. She'd crept behind him, never straying more than a few feet. A gunshot rang out. Adam dropped low. "Stay back," he hissed. He motioned for her to hide. She did. The firefight was brief, and when it ended, Adam's squad regrouped in the eastern compound. His uniform was caked in dust, and his arms were shaking. Not from fear, but from disbelief. The kitten had made it. Somehow, impossibly, she had followed him all the way. Private Hall burst out laughing when he saw her. "No way, Sarge. Did you pick up a mascot?" "Not by choice," Adam said, wiping grime off her fur. She purred for the first time. They named her Moxie. Over the next few days, Moxie became a fixture of the unit. She'd sleep in Adam's helmet or curl up beside his cot. In between patrols, she'd chase shadows or swat at strings dangled by bored soldiers. Her presence was a balm, an innocent flicker of warmth in a world that had gone cold. But what none of them realized yet was just how far she'd go to stay by Adam's side. Because when orders came in that they were being deployed to an active front, where the enemy lines were just a ridge away, Adam tried to leave her behind. He gave her to a supply officer at base camp, tucked her in a box with a blanket and a can of tuna. "She's better off here," he told himself. But as the transport rolled away and dust kicked up in its wake, Adam couldn't shake the feeling he was being watched. And when they set up camp on the hill that night, under a sky filled with tracer rounds and worry, he heard it again. A meow. Moxie had followed them. Against all odds, across miles of dangerous terrain, through checkpoints, dust storms, and enemy fire, that little kitten had followed a soldier into battle. Adam crouched down, speechless. She rubbed against his boot, like it was the most normal thing in the world. A lump rose in his throat. He scooped her up, held her to his chest, and whispered, "You stubborn little miracle." But that was just the beginning, because what Moxie would do next would leave the entire platoon speechless. The morning after Moxie's arrival at the front was thick with fog and tension. Soldiers shuffled in silence, preparing their gear as distant booms echoed across the hills. No one joked. No one spoke loudly. This wasn't training ground chaos. This was real. But amidst the heavy air, Moxie brought something different. She walked between boots, nudging shins and curling around duffels. Even the hard-nosed Captain Russo cracked a rare smile as she brushed against his leg. "Your cat, Blake?" he asked without looking up. Adam chuckled. "Guess she's made it official." They were dug in for reconnaissance, monitoring enemy troop movements across the valley. The assignment was dangerous but vital. Every pair of eyes counted. Adam was given overwatch on the ridge, and naturally Moxie followed. He tried to shoo her away gently. "Go back, Mox. Too dangerous up here." But she stayed, tucked herself into a sandbag nest beside him. Her eyes scanned the horizon with his, tail twitching every time a leaf rustled. Then came the moment. A sound, barely there. A snap of a twig. Adam froze, ears sharp. Something was off. His eyes swept the tree line. He raised his scope, heart thudding. That's when Moxie stood up, back arched for spiked. She let out a growl. Not a hiss, a low, guttural growl like a warning. Contact, Adam shouted. Gunfire erupted as enemy scouts attempted a silent flank. The squad responded instantly, the element of surprise broken thanks to Moxie's keen senses. Bullets tore through the trees. Smoke filled the air. And when it cleared, they were safe. Rattled, but safe. She warned us, Private Lang said in disbelief. The cat saved us. After that day, Moxie wasn't just a mascot. She was part of the team. She'd sit by the comms table during briefings. Soldiers fed her scraps from their rations, and she'd walk the perimeter like a fuzzy little guard. But it wasn't just what she did. It was how she made them feel. These were men hardened by war, trained to detach. And yet every night, without fail, they'd search for Moxie's soft purring presence before they could truly rest. She was the heartbeat in the silence, the warmth in the cold. A week later, disaster struck. A recon drone went down deep inside hostile territory. Command wanted it recovered. Its intel was too sensitive to leave behind. Adam volunteered for the mission, knowing it meant threading a needle through no man's land. Not taking the cat, Russo warned. Adam nodded. Of course not. He left her curled up in his sleeping bag, whispered, "Stay here. Be good." It was a treacherous trek. Minefields, snipers, unstable terrain. Adam and two others moved like shadows. Hours passed. They reached the drone, but a trap was waiting. An explosion tore through the trees. Radio silence. Back at camp, no word came. Day turned to night. Moxie didn't sleep. She paced the edge of the compound, eyes fixed on the hills. No purring. No playfulness. Just silence. Then, on the second night, movement at the gate. A soldier stumbled in, dragging another behind him. Adam, barely conscious. Covered in blood. One man dead, the other wounded. The drone intact. Moxie was the first to reach him. She leapt onto the stretcher and lay across his chest. Didn't move. Didn't meow. Just lay there, protecting him as if to say, "You made it back. I knew you would." The medics tried to move her, but Adam's hand weakly waved them off. "She stays," he whispered. In the infirmary, she didn't leave his side for a second. Even when he slipped into unconsciousness, her little form never left his chest. The base chaplain, old and weathered, sat beside them one night and said, "I've seen men survive worse, but never because they had a guardian angel with fur." But the war wasn't done with them yet, because days later, a new order came in, one that would tear Adam and Moxie apart, and neither of them would be ready for what came next. Adam's orders came down just as the sun rose through a veil of smoke and morning frost. He sat on the edge of his cot, bandages still fresh on his side, staring at the mission folder in his lap. It wasn't a request. It was a reassignment. He was being rotated home. "Medical discharge," Captain Russo told him. "You've done your time, Sergeant. You saved lives. Now go live yours." Adam looked past him to Moxie, curled up in the window, eyes sleepy but alert. He nodded slowly. "What about her?" Russo's face hardened. "Regulations say no animals on transport. She stays." Adam's jaw clenched. "That cat saved us more than once." "I know, but I don't make the rules." They gave him a week to prepare for departure. In that time, he did everything he could, filed petitions, spoke to officers, tried to pull every string he had. Nothing worked. Even those who had come to love Moxie gave him sad, resigned looks. The night before his flight, he packed quietly. Moxie sat on his duffel, staring up at him with her unblinking blue eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispered, picking her up. "I never wanted to leave you behind." She didn't move, just pressed her tiny head against his chest, purring low. Like she understood. Like she forgave him. At dawn, he walked her to the comms bunker, the warmest place she liked to sleep. Set down her blanket. Left her with his tag. "So you never forget me," he murmured, voice cracking. When the chopper lifted off, Adam didn't look back. But Moxie did. She watched the sky for hours, unmoving. When night fell, she returned to his bunk, curled in the hollow he once slept in, and waited. Weeks passed. The war dragged on. Soldiers rotated in and out. Some brought toys. Others left snacks. But she never bonded with another like she had with Adam. Then one day a new order came. A ceremony. Stateside. A medal for Adam's valor. He stood in dress uniform, clean-shaven and stiff in the governor's hall. Cameras flashed. Medals pinned. But he didn't smile. Reporters asked him questions. How does it feel to be a hero? He said only, I didn't do it alone. Later, in a quiet moment, he stepped outside into the cold evening air. Snowflakes fell gently around him, and his hand drifted to the tag around his neck, the one that used to rest on a kitten's blanket. Back at the base, months had gone by. A new commanding officer arrived. Younger, harsher. He didn't like cats. He ordered Moxie removed. The soldiers protested. They offered to hide her, smuggle her food, anything. But she was captured and boxed up for transport to a shelter far from the front. But she never made it. Somewhere on the road, the vehicle crashed, ambushed in a sudden strike. The driver survived. The box was gone. Only a few torn scraps of blanket remained. For a long time, they thought she was lost. Until the letters started arriving. From distant villages. From medics. From scouts. Sightings. Stories. A gray and white cat with piercing blue eyes traveling from camp to camp. Always moving west. Always avoiding danger. She was searching. Adam received the first letter 6 months later. He dropped everything. He booked a flight. Tracked leads. Followed the trail across ruined cities and military checkpoints. He chased ghost stories, claw marks, paw prints, whispers. Then one day, on a quiet morning in a refugee station outside Krakow, he walked into a small field hospital. She was there, thin, dusty, but alive. The moment their eyes met, she meowed. He fell to his knees. She bolted across the floor and leapt into his arms. Tears streamed down his face. You found me, he whispered. You crazy, brave little soul. You found me. They didn't separate again. He adopted her formally, pulled strings, used every favor he was owed. She flew home beside him, curled in his lap for the entire flight. Today, she sleeps by a fireplace in a quiet cabin in Colorado. Her favorite blanket, worn and patched, still carries his old tag. Visitors come often, soldiers mostly. They kneel, they pet her, they whisper thanks. Because everyone remembers the kitten who followed a soldier into battle and never stopped until they were both safe and home together.